Hey everybody, today I wanted to share with you a gift that I received in the mail from Norman Maslov, aka Mazzy, and a lot of you know him. He's got a really great channel and a big following. Now, let me tell you about Mazzy, and let me tell you what this is. This is a book that came out in 1982, and I actually remember it. I never had it back in the day, but I do remember it being talked about because I listened to a show back in those early 80s. That was a college radio station broadcast, I believe, from the campus of Adelphi University in I think, Garden City, New York. And they talked about this book all the time. It's called The Beatles, England. And Norman Maslov, wrote this book along with David Bacon. So they were the authors, David Bacon and Norman Maslov. This is a really much appreciated gift because this is a book that I never got, never had all these decades from 1982 to now. And this is a special hardcover book. There's not many of these. You can't find this book, I believe, in hardcover anymore. And this was one of the few copies left that he had that he was so kindly willing to send me as a gift and perfect for the holidays. Now, the thing about this is that at the time in 1982, you didn't really have all this, what you call oversaturation in a way now. The commonplace Beatles tours where, you just simply get on a bus, go to England and see all these sites. No. Back then, before the internet and before you had all these organized tours, before the Abbey Road 1983 studio tour, before all these kinds of events, this was unique for its time. He was on the Joe Franklin show, I believe, and other shows. And let me just show you this. That's the front cover. There's the back, some of the places. And you can see the line there from In My Life. There are places I'll remember. And what it says here on the back is, The Beatles England is a photo history of the places in the Beatles' lives and songs. From Liverpool to London to Hamburg, this book takes a unique look at the Beatles' homeland. Each page combines photographs of the Beatles with views of their actual British haunts. The Beatles England is an informative and humorous look behind the Beatles sites with addresses included. An in-hand guide or entertaining reference book. And before I go on, let me show you a picture here of the authors. We have David Bacon and Mazzy. There it is. Familiar pose there. Can you recognize Norman Maslov? He looks a little different these days, but you can, of course, see what they're parodying there. The butcher cover. Very cool. And let's look at a little of this. Before I do, though, Mazzy also sent along a couple of items that I like. A couple of little pins. That's one of them. And here's another one, which this one's really nice. Okay, ready for this one? Mazzy loves you. All right. And this is still autographed. Watch this when I open this up here. And just to make this a little easier, I usually take the dust jacket off, not to damage that when I'm showing you this. It's autographed from back in the day, and I love that, by Norman Maslov, David Bacon, August 1982. And not only do I remember 1982 like it was only yesterday, but I remember August of 82 very clearly. That was a great summer, great month. And some of the photos here, I mean, you can't go through the whole book here, but you see, back then, something like this was a big deal, right? There's the crossing of Abbey Road. All right. Now, of course, it's a common sight. Back then, not so. Abbey Road Studios. Photos of the Beatles arriving at all these places, hanging out at these locations. Let's see, some examples here Penny Lane, and Strawberry Field, which, by the way, this was included in the book here. There's Strawberry Field for you right there. So yeah, you know, this is a really cool book. It would have been amazing had I had it back in the day, because a lot of this stuff, of course, you know, I didn't even know about then. And there's Hesse's Music Center. And it tells you, like, though the Beatles obviously had talent, someone had to supply their instruments. In Liverpool, this someone was Frank Hesse. His music store in the city centre, Whitechapel, carried a variety of instruments and supplied most of the young Merseyside bands in the early 60s. The Empress Pub, that's on the cover of Ringo's Sentimental Journey album. You know, these are things now that, of course, are well known. These are things that you can go and visit yourself. Look at this. I'm just a Cavern Club at Matthew Street. It looks like such a dingy street, you know, back in the day. Litherland Town Hall, that's a big and important Beatles gig. These are all places that they visited. And of course you have Paul and George's High School, Liverpool Institute. Yeah, so you could see what a travelogue this was, what a treasure trove of information back in the day. Childhood homes like John Lennon's Menlove Avenue home. Okay. And then you have Ringo's birthplace, John's birthplace. Wow, look at all this stuff. Wow, look at there. Ringo's birthplace. Let's see. George's birthplace. Look at all these places. Yeah, thank you so much, Mazzy, for this. This is so cool. Now, what is this? Sign the Beatles Now. I'm just like talking to myself about stuff that I see here, using to myself. McCartney's house at 7 Cavendish. A lot of people familiar with this, 7 Cavendish. So much information. I could go through the whole book, but of course you can't on a video like this. But yeah, just wanted to take a moment sharing this stuff with you and showing my appreciation for this. Lastly, I guess I'll show the EMI house. There's the EMI house with the cover of the Red and the Blue albums. All right, so that's a little bit of a fun look at the Beatles England. David Bacon and Norman Maslov. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Mazzy, for the gift. Take care, folks.